In the middle of the night, when the road is empty and the trees begin to lean like shadows, there is one sound that can stop a person cold. Hooves. Not footsteps, not whispers. Hooves pounding through the dark. And when the rider finally emerges from the fog, there is one thing missing: his head. The Headless Horseman is one of those legends that feels older than the page it was written on. He is not just a ghost story. He is the shape fear takes when it learns how to ride. For centuries, people have told stories of riders who come from the dark, carrying omens, curses, or death itself. The horseman belongs to that family of legends, but he became something more than a warning. He became an image people could never forget. Long before Sleepy Hollow, long before American literature turned him into a cultural icon, the idea of a headless rider already existed in European folklore. In Germany, Ireland, and Britain, stories described ghostly horsemen who appeared after battle, at crossroads, or deep in the countryside. Sometimes they warned of death. Sometimes they were the dead, returning without peace. Sometimes they were simply an omen that something terrible was near. The missing head made the image complete. A body could still run. A horse could still carry it. But without a head, the rider became something broken, something unnatural, something that should not exist. The legend survived because it spoke to a deep human fear. Not just fear of death, fear of violence, fear of being erased, fear of never finding rest. A headless rider is not only dead, he is incomplete. He is a reminder that some endings are not peaceful, and some stories do not close cleanly. When these old European tales crossed the Atlantic, they arrived in a landscape that was perfect for ghost stories. America in the early imagination was full of distance. Long roads, thick woods, isolated farms, places where a person could ride for miles without seeing another soul. In that kind of world, a story like the Headless Horseman could grow wild. The legend found new life in the fears of a young country, where the dark felt wide open and the unknown was never far away. Then came Washington Irving. With the legend of Sleepy Hollow, Irving gave the horseman his most famous stage. A quiet valley, a superstitious village, a nervous schoolteacher, and a rider who seemed to rise straight out of the local fear. Irving did not create the idea from nothing. He refined it. He dressed it in American atmosphere, local color, and a kind of eerie humor that made the legend even more memorable. After that, the Headless Horseman was no longer just folklore. He was immortal. The horseman works because he is simple. He does not need a long explanation. He does not need a tragic speech. He does not need a motive you can understand. He rides, he chases, he terrifies. That simplicity is part of the power. In horror, the less you can fully explain, the more room fear has to grow. And the Headless Horseman leaves almost everything to the imagination. Imagine the moment the legend comes to life. A black horse bursts through the fog. Branches whip at the rider's coat. The road narrows. The lantern shakes violently in the wind. You hear the hooves behind you, and that sound becomes everything. Faster, closer, unstoppable. Over time, the Headless Horseman moved beyond folklore and literature into the wider world. He became part of Halloween, part of horror, part of the image bank of American storytelling. He appears in films, television, haunted attractions, books, and seasonal decorations. Sometimes he is horrifying, sometimes he is playful. But the core image stays the same, a rider without a head, appearing where no rider should be. That is what makes him endure. He can change costumes, settings, and tones, but the symbol never weakens. Part of the horseman's lasting power is psychological. He represents pursuit. He represents the fear of being followed. He represents the idea that something from the past can still catch up to you. That makes him feel larger than one story. Every culture has figures like this: ghosts, riders, hunters, shadows. Because people have always feared the thing that moves behind them in the dark. The Headless Horseman gives that fear a face, even though the face is gone. Today, the horseman survives because he still feels alive. He is instantly recognizable. He is visually unforgettable. He is adaptable enough to appear in children's stories and terrifying enough to haunt adults. The reason is simple. He is not just about death. He is about the fear of what comes after. The fear of what keeps moving when everything else should have ended. And maybe that is the final reason the legend still works. the Headless Horseman feels unfinished. He never resolves completely. He never explains himself. He never fully belongs to one place, one era, or one meaning. He keeps riding because the story keeps moving, and as long as people fear the dark road ahead, the horseman still has somewhere to go. From ancient folklore to American literature, the Headless Horseman became one of the most enduring figures in horror history. He is part ghost story, part warning, and part nightmare that never learned how to end. And if you ever hear hooves in the distance on a silent night, there is one thing you should remember. Some legends do not stay on the page. They say the dark is empty, but stories like this prove otherwise. Because somewhere beyond the trees, beyond the fog, beyond the last flicker of lantern light, the horseman is still riding. And if you listen closely enough, the sound of the hooves may already be behind you. If this legend gave you chills, like the video, subscribe for more dark folklore stories, and comment the next haunted tale you want to hear. Because this road never really ends, and some nights the horseman still rides.